All right, we are live on the air. Welcome to Bacon Bits, the premiere episode of Bacon Bits. I don't know how many of you out there are old fans of the DLC show. You might have remembered that with me and Kay Nels, and I think we had, what do we have, about 8 or 9 episodes?
Yeah.
All right, so now we've got just Bacon. So there's going to be, I'm sure we'll get Kay Nels on here eventually, but right now she's on Fallout 4. And today we have special guest Daddy Warpig. Say
Am I supposed to say hi at this point?
And we have special guest, the professor with the manliest voice that I know of anyway, Professor Nick Floor.
Hello.
Hello,
How
Professor.
Are you?
He's the only one with the video going right now.
Why does my voice sound so high when we're on video, on live stream? It's really deep, really manly, really low. I don't know what's going on here. Bacon's playing some kind of joke. But
All right.
I heard him. He sounds like Barry White with a bad head cold. He's low, man. It's terrifying. The bass makes the windows rumble.
That's right.
I like the icon, Professor. What do you have, a little Yoda that you're playing with there?
Yeah, that's Yoda. Me and Yoda doing some hacking.
Yeah. All right, well, just as an introduction to the show, okay, Bacon Bits is probably going to be very similar to the DLC show. We're going to cover Gamergate topics. We're going to cover movies like hidden things. I like to talk about hidden gem movies that I find on Netflix that I've never heard of before. We're definitely going to cover games and game reviews. We did that a little bit on the DLC show, and when the professor gave, I think it was Far Cry 4 a D, right? That was the last review you did on the DLC show.
Yeah, that's right.
And so today we're probably going to cover Until Dawn, and I believe we're going to have disagreements on that. And I don't have an official review for Fallout 4 because Kate Nelligan will not let me anywhere near it, but Daddy Warpig has played it. So Daddy Warpig, why don't you tell us what you think about Fallout 4?
Let me be more specific. I am actually, technically speaking, playing it right now.
What? You're not paying attention?
We
Of course
don't
I'm
have
paying
a
attention.
That's messed up.
I am literally in the settlement of Sanctuary, laying in some fences to try and see if I can get this cow, this Brahmin, out of the dormitory I've set up. So
we get half of Daddy Warpig. The other half is currently playing Fallout 4. Well, I've heard some complaints about the graphics, Daddy Warpig. What do you think about them? Are they up to snuff or not next gen ready or what?
Here's the thing. I mean, you can look at something like a first-person shooter or most of the games you've got right now on the Xbox One are upgraded 360 games, and so it certainly beats all of those. They placed a premium on frame rate and smoothness over complexity of graphics. I'm not saying that was the best trade-off, but all computer programming involves trade-offs, and that's the one they made. So yeah, they could have a little bit more detail on the textures for characters and uniforms and things like that, but they're not bad graphics. They don't stand out to make you go, oh my god, this is so ugly, it stabs my eyes!
So you're enjoying the gameplay and you don't think the graphics are... So it sounds to me like you're having a good time with it.
I am. I have run into fewer bugs than I have traditionally have with Bethesda games, so, you know...
It's a pretty massive game, right? I mean, it's a lot of, like, an open world, a lot of places to go.
It's huge. It's humongous.
How is it compared to The Witcher? Is it the same size, bigger?
I have no idea on the details, but it definitely makes you think twice about walking anywhere you don't have to. Here's the thing I love about the game. I needed to walk from one place to another, and it was really, really short. It's barely apart on the screen, and so I'm walking from one place to another, and all of a sudden I'm getting shot at. And it's a bunch of raiders, and the game is really nice. It labels the raiders. It calls them scum raiders and psycho raiders and other things, so you know you can kill them without any pangs of conscience. Because they're scum.
I don't get those anyway.
So they're shooting at me, and so they're up on this roof, way atop me. And so I, pick them off with my gun, and then I look at them and thinking, well, how the heck am I going to get up there to loot them? I look around, I figure I've got to go into this building to get up to where they are and loot them, which means, of course, the entire building is going to be full of raiders. So I nod my head, and I go into the building, and I slaughter my way to the top stairs and loot my way to the top stairs. And then I get out onto the roof, and there's some more raiders, and they're having a firefight. I think, oh, cool. They're shooting it up with people. I can just, shoot them from behind, and whoever is across that roof there, they'll be my friends. It was a lie. It was a damnable lie. They were not my friends. I shot my way through the raiders, and on the other side of them were super mutants.
Wait, not
I
early
love
in the
those
game?
games.
And so the super mutants, they've all got names like, tear your head off, super mutant, and they've got the little skull behind it, which means the game thinks you're suicidal for taking them on. And so I'm running out into fire, robbing bodies, and running away and healing up so I can get all my loot before I disappear.
Now, Daddy Warpig, have you seen any of the? I've seen a lot of people posting on reviews from Steam, and there seems to be an excess of SJW whining surrounding this game. Have you seen any of those reviews or comments?
I haven't seen any of the Steam reviews. I have no idea what they could possibly be whining about. I mean, you can play male or female character right off the bat. The very first thing you do when you go into town is you run into this group of people, and one of whom is homosexual. They have gone out of their way to include all kinds of people in this game. You have to be crazy to be attacking Bethesda for whatever perceived lack of diversity they have.
Right. I've seen several comments now, and they all seem to be from different users, and they all say the same. Well, here I am once again forced into a heterosexual relationship in this game.
Yes.
It just never ends. I mean, at some point, don't you have to think that, as far as the gay thing goes, I mean, they're included in, almost any game. I can't think of too many without that being an element somewhere. I mean, they're adequately represented well. I don't know. I don't really know what more they want. Does every character have to be gay, or is it okay if we have heterosexual relationships in the game? I don't know what. I don't understand. I mean, am I missing something, or do you think they are probably either adequately represented or overrepresented in the medium right now?
I think it's crazy to complain about this game having a main character who is whatever, gay or straight or whatever. I mean, it's just sometimes, strangely enough, people who make the games actually have the right to make choices for the characters they put in the game, and it is not required that they make it possible for every single character in every single game to be a gender fluid, demisexual otherkin. It just isn't necessary.
Right, it isn't. It isn't. And you know what? The thing is that what I said on the DLC show, I think, still holds true. The free market always wins, and these guys, I see these complaints, and I think, boy, every time I buy a copy of Fallout 4, one of these guys must retreat to a safe space. I just love the fact that the game's a success. I mean, I know there's complaints about the graphics, but, it's just every time you see one of those comments, I want to buy another copy. They can't, they cannot win in the marketplace. That's what I love about the free market. That's what Professor loves about the free market.
That's absolutely right. If they want a game with that kind of content, they're welcome to make that kind of game and try to have it sell in the free market. There's no reason to force any kind of content in the game. I have no problems with what people, any kind of content people put in games, as long as it fits the story. It's not forced. They're doing it for to advance the game, to advance the story in the game. But yeah, I'm against forcing content just because it's politically correct.
I think we're all against that because it never works out well. And speaking of the free market, I think Daddy Warpig will agree with me. Isn't it going to be exciting when the Crash Override movie releases, Daddy? How many screens do you think it'll be on? 2 screens?
I have no idea who thinks that that's going to be a worthwhile movie to make or see. It seems like a black money pit. Amy Pascal, who used to work at Sony Pictures, who had to quit because of intemperate emails that got leaked, is the person who has bought the rights to the screenplay. And I don't think the book is written yet. They sold the rights to the book and the rights to the screenplay before the book has even been written. It's going to be ghost-written, obviously, but her job is producer. And what that means is, or executive producer, what that means is, as executive producer, it's your job to find suckers to donate money to make this movie. And I'm just wondering what kind of idiots they're going to get to give them money to make that movie. I would never put money into that, unless it's like George Soros doing it as a political statement. It just doesn't make sense. You're going to lose your money. You will never see it back.
You know what? Maybe they'll Kickstarter it and see if they can fund it that way. I mean, I would like to know who looked at, and I don't know. I don't think this is actually confirmed. I know it's like a rumor, but there's people out there saying, "Oh, Scarlett Johansson is going to play Zoe Quinn," and I'm thinking,
oh my God,
who looked at Scarlett Johansson? If you slammed her face in a car door and then held her up in a funhouse mirror, she still would look better than Zoe Quinn.
Oh, that's mean.
The press release that Pascal put together is the one that put that rumor out there. And it says, well, she's showing the most interest. That may mean that somebody talked to her at a party and she said, oh, sure, I'll take a look at the script, send it over to my agent, and has absolutely no real interest. Hollywood press releases are notoriously unreliable when it comes to things like that. And by mentioning Scarlett Johansson, what they're primarily doing is trying to get some other actress who isn't terrible to maybe be interested in the movie long enough to make it. Someone who's desperate for a role that will, make them a little bit better known.
Barely. I can't imagine that this movie does more than $20.
I do not see this movie being at all popular.
That's the sequel to Depression Quest. Will be about the making of this movie when this is over.
Oh, good one.
It's a bad idea. I mean, it's not just a bad idea because it's all lies. You can tell the most amazing lies because that's what writing is. It's a bad idea because it's boring.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
I mean, that's
insulted
it. Where's
on
the conflict?
4chan.
Yeah.
How the hell does that translate to the screen?
Well, that's a good point, Professor, because you know what, though? If there's no conflict, it should be right up Man-Girl McIntosh's alley. He loves things without conflict. Didn't you see Anita say that about Fallout 4, that the crafting was excellent, but it's too bad that all you can do is craft things to kill other things?
No, are you serious? Are you serious?
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
She's lying, by the way. Not that that's surprising.
How is the crafting in Fallout?
The crafting involves a lot of things, including weapons and armor, but it also involves building buildings. I mean, if you saw the E3 presentation that they did, where they talk about building settlements and stuff, you can literally design your own floor plan for a building, and you have to, in order to support your settlers, you have to put in water pumps, and you have to put in power, and you're building your own community. It's almost like a ground level view of Sim City.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And
That's
so
too much work for me.
it is actually a lot of work. Especially because, like, you go out on this quest, and I rescued this town, and all of a sudden it says, okay, now you're in charge, and they're vulnerable. I'm like, you're kidding me! I've rescued this town, and now I have to build fortifications to protect them from wandering bandits? I have suddenly become the slumlord of the wasteland here, of the Commonwealth wasteland. I'm just like, oh, man. Every so often
So
I
that
go
makes
by
sense.
and they have
So
stuff
she's
for me
full
to
of
pick.
crap, huh? She's full of crap. That's not a surprise to anyone. You know, I've been doing these shows for, I mean, DLC show lasted, I don't know, several months, and we did 10, I don't know, 10 episodes, or I don't even know how many we did, but we've been talking about this idiot for over a year now, and it's just incredible to me that she's still around. I really thought, like a fart in the wind, she would just blow away, but I'm astounded. I'm astounded that she's still around.
Never underestimate the marginal utility of virtue signaling.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. No,
It's
it gives.
incredible.
She exists because it allows people to virtue signal around her, you know, tweet indignant, outrageous things on Twitter, and feel good about themselves. So, you know, I don't think she'll ever go away because of the whole virtue signaling phenomenon.
No, she's in it for the money. I don't think she believes half of what she says. I don't think she writes half of what she says. She's the P.T. Barnum of feminism. That's what she is.
Well, the virtue signaling isn't from her. It's from all of the people who are fans of her and pay money
right.
to Kickstarter. They don't care that the Kickstarter has never produced anything but, what, 3 videos now? 3 subpar videos? They don't care because spending money on it made them, A, feel righteous, and B, look righteous to other people who are in their cult.
Yeah, when I see that, I saw the screen grab of her saying that she had, you know, it's too bad you can only craft things to kill other things. And I look at the bottom, I see like 300 favorites, and I think, Jesus, I just want to throw my phone in the toilet. Stop looking at Twitter. It's incredible to me.
That's the 300 Goonie bearded men.
You know what? Speaking of stupid SJW stuff, there's another thing that has really been on my nerves lately, and I think Daddy Warpig will agree with me.
Wait, whose dog is
That's my stupid dog. That's Stark, the show dog. It's the show dog from the DLC show. I've been driven crazy, you know, absolutely batty lately by Daniel Craig, who has been on a tangent, just bashing Bond every chance he gets. And to me, I mean, first of all, it's a slap in the face to all Bond fans everywhere because it's an honor, it's a privilege to play James Bond. I don't think there's too many actors in the world who would think, no, I could turn a role like that down.
What's he complaining about?
Well, he says he would never play Bond again, no matter what the money. He said Bond isn't a hero; he's a misogynist. He said it about 2 weeks ago. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, you have some nerve, buddy. All of a sudden now, 4 movies in, you're going to decide that, you know what, you don't need Bond anymore. They're probably too old to play him again anyway. And so you're going to run him into the ground and you're going to trot out the lines like he's a misogynist. I don't think we would even know who this guy is if it wasn't for Bond.
Right. Well, what else was he in?
He was in a few movies, but that was during his Bond run. So I think, like, you know, Dragon Tattoo, which I don't think he gets without the Bond role.
Right.
I mean, what do you think, Daddy Warpig?
I think that it used to be that people taught movie stars that in order to be a movie star, you had to have some class. And sometime in the 1960s, class drained out of Hollywood. It just, like the oil crisis, when the Arabs shut off all our oil, whoever America imports all its class from decided to shut off all its class, and it was just gone. We ran out of it. And yeah,
is it a new trend now? Where these actors, you know, they play the role, they get the money, and then they just spit in the face of the viewers, and they say, oh, you know, after 4 Bond movies, I now want to tell all of my fans that you've been watching this misogynist crap for a decade now, and how dare you? I mean, you made the movies, right, buddy? I mean, you had access to the scripts before they were made. You knew, presumably, who Bond was before you signed the part. I remember seeing an interview with Daniel Craig when he was first offered the Bond part, where he talked about how happy he was and what an amazing thing it was to be picked for such an iconic character, that he went out and bought himself a bottle of Grey Goose and went on a little bender and had his friends over to the house for 2 days and He was just the happiest guy on earth. And now he flash forward 4 movies, millions of dollars, and it's all of a sudden it's misogynist dreck that he's been making all these years.
Yeah, but see,
You
I
got to
think
be
a lot
kidding
of
me.
celebrities are like that, though. Yeah, and they're shallow people. That's why they're actors. They're fake, they're phony, and they're always trying to shine the limelight on themselves. And when they lose the limelight, which I assume Daniel Craig has lost, they want to be relevant again. So they say, what's the big social issue that we can go on our soapbox about? And in this case, it's misogyny, it's sexism, and so that's what he does. He's what's it called? He cuts off his nose to spite his face.
Yeah, and you know what? He counts on people just forgetting it too, and they do. They'll forget it. They'll flock to his. Oh, I see. I'm looking at his IMDb. So in 2007, he made The Golden Compass. That was right before Quantum of Solace, and right after Casino Royale. And I think The Golden Compass made what, Daddy Warpig, about $75.
It bombed.
Fateless, The Jacket. There's nothing on here. I mean, before Bond, there's nothing, and after Bond, I don't know. Maybe there will be, but I mean, I don't want to predict that there won't be, but. To me, I just don't understand the thinking. And you know what? There's been a lot of Bonds before him, and none of them hit the exit door with quite so little class as he has, in my opinion.
Yeah, good riddance.
You
He
know
was
what?
the ugliest Bond too, right? Bonds are supposed to be good looking. It's a pretty ugly guy.
Last year, Pierce Brosnan said this. He said, "I regret playing Bond because." He didn't think that he was the right kind of person to play Bond.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I think he was the right kind of person. I think the writing for those movies was weak.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Pierce Brosnan was a great Bond, and I loved all the Pierce Brosnan films except for the last one. But here's the point: Daniel Craig is acting like he's too good now to play Bond, whereas Pierce Brosnan, 20 years later, it was 1995, right, that he started GoldenEye or thereabouts.
Yep. Right around there.
He's saying, "Hey, you know what? I wish I hadn't done Bond because I don't think I was good enough. I don't think I was the right kind of actor." And I'm paraphrasing here. I wish I could remember the exact quote to play it. See, that's a person who has some ability to reflect, ability to think about his parts, ability to think about himself as an actor. He's acting like a person with humility, whereas Daniel Craig is the exact opposite.
Right.
Hey, you know what? If Daniel Craig wants to put his money where his mouth is and make something, maybe atone for his perceived sins of making misogynist movies, maybe he wants to volunteer to play a role in Crash Override.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Daniel Craig. We're calling you out right now. If you want to put your money where your mouth is, sign on for Crash Override. When that goes direct to Netflix and gets a 1-star rating, we'll see how that does for your career.
I've got the perfect part for him too. If Scarlett Johansson is going to play Zoe Quinn, then Daniel Craig should play Lifshitz. Alex Lifshitz, Zoe Quinn's boyfriend. Because that is just as realistic.
Oh my God! You know what? Maybe we could. Maybe me and Daddy Warpig will put up a Kickstarter and we'll do a parody of Crash Override when it comes out. We'll make a parody.
Have you seen the trailer?
Crash Override.
No, I haven't seen the trailer.
Somebody did a trailer and put it up on YouTube. One of the Anons did. It was brilliant. It just was amazingly funny.
Oh, I'm gonna definitely look that up. I am gonna definitely look that up because that sounds hilarious.
So all the stuff you'd hope they hit in the trailer. It's great.
While we're on the subject of movies, let me just throw this out there too. I said when I was on Daddy Warpig's show, which was on, I think it was Halloween, wasn't it?
Yes.
When I was on his show, I told everyone to watch a movie called Let Us Pray, which was. Did you get a chance to see it?
I have not.
I didn't.
All right, you jerks. Fine.
No. You got to understand here. I have a friend who had told me to watch The Raid Redemption for 2 years, and I finally got it done the week before. So,
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
I'll let it go.
That other movie you told us about, Bacon Man, it wasn't very good. It was a horror movie, police station. Can't remember the name.
That was it. That was Let Us Pray.
Oh, was that it? Let Us Pray?
Yeah, that was it.
Okay.
Which I should mention too. One thing I find rather funny about this is that every time I tweeted about Let Us Pray, two things happened. The director and one of the stars of the movie would favorite and retweet the tweet.
No, are you serious?
Yeah, yeah, and the other thing that happened is a bunch of Catholics would either direct message me or favorite the tweet, not realizing that pray was spelled Prey. So when I would hashtag Let Us Pray, I would get like a religious subset would come in and favorite the tweet, which I found endlessly amusing that they didn't read the wording of it. So you didn't like that?
It was okay.
How many grade it? You know you're famous for your grades. Grade it.
I'd give it a C.
You'd give it a C. And you'd recognize the guy from Game of Thrones was in there.
Wait, he was?
Yes.
No, who was it? Which one?
Let me see if I can remember his.
Oh, let me go to IMDb.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that right now.
Let me see. Let us pray.
It's the and if I can't remember his Liam Cunningham.
Wait,
I have a
that?
sort of weak spot for him. I like him.
He
He
playing
is
Game of Thrones.
in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, he's
Davos Seaworth.
right.
He's the right-hand man of that. I can't remember the
king.
king's name, but they cut his finger off. Remember when they thought he was?
Okay. He's the
That's
big
right.
guy with the beard. Great
Yes, that's right.
patchy beard. Okay.
That is him.
And so he was in Let Us Pray. That the professor gives a C to. How dare you? You know what? Here's the thing. Coincidentally enough, I was going to recommend another film today that I found last night on Netflix, and this one was called it's called Last Shift. And I don't know why. I swear this isn't a theme with me, but it is again an abandoned police station. But it's good. Look, it's not great. It's never going to win an Oscar, okay? But I'm not, Usually when I find a hidden gem movie like that, what I mean by that is I stumbled upon something that's probably B-rate, not a major, studio film, but
Yeah.
I'd never heard of it before, but it was more enjoyable than usual because 99 times out of 100, if you watch one of those kind of movies on Netflix, you wind up with garbage, So it's nice to stumble across something that's enjoyable. I thought Last Stand was. Now, Let Us Pray was a Scottish film. I did have some issues with, frankly, they were hard to understand at times. Their accents were real thick. Did you find that, Professor?
Yeah. But didn't you turn on the I don't know if I did it for this movie, but you can turn on the subtitles. I always do that with movies that are foreign where I can't understand the English.
Yeah, I didn't. I could have, I guess, but I got most of what they were saying. It was just very rarely that I had struggled with it a little bit. So
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised you gave it a C, but okay. I can see this is going to be one of those shows where we clash.
I know.
Have you ever seen Dog Soldiers?
No, I don't
No.
know.
It's about a detachment of British troops who run into werewolves.
No, I never. Is it good?
Well, it's exactly like one of those movies you're talking about. It's an indie budget movie, and so it's not a major movie. They don't have a huge budget, but it's still a fun movie. It's watchable. It's worth watching at least once if you're, British soldiers running into werewolves having to fight them off.
Oh no,
that's
I have seen that one. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's about a C too.
Is that on Netflix? I'll have to look it up. I haven't seen it.
I am absolutely sure it's on Netflix because I think they recommend it to me all the time.
Oh, and look, Liam Cunningham is on that one as well.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
All right. Good. I like him.
Yeah, that one's okay.
But it's just like what you're talking about. Movies that are, what else? Is it Doomsday?
I know what that one is. Yeah, I think I've seen that
I've
one.
heard of that one. Yeah.
I enjoyed that a lot, and it's basically the same thing. It's almost,
Bob Hoskins.
yeah, Bob Hoskins was in it, and Rona Mitra, who's with Adam Baldwin in The Last Ship.
Yeah. Rona.
It's got the Mad Max road racing sections. It's got a couple of sort of
Alexander
zombie-
Siddig from Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, so I enjoyed it. It's one of those movies that's not a high budget, slick Hollywood production, but it's still fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That's what Netflix is good for because they haven't been adding a ton of recent releases or big Hollywood blockbuster movies, or really barely any. It seems like every time I check, there's a bunch of documentaries and a couple of movies I never heard of. I mean, they're big into their original programming now, which I think is great. Their original programming is almost always good, but then they're kind of just another network, aren't they? I mean, if they're not going to still have Hollywood blockbusters or movies that have been released in the last decade at least, aren't they just sort of another network now?
Well, that wasn't their choice. They didn't choose to not get Hollywood movies. Hollywood just is refusing outright to license them to Netflix. In fact, much of the first-run movies that Netflix was getting, they were getting through a subsidiary agreement with the Starz cable channel. And when you'd watch a movie on Netflix, it would say, something Starz, and the Starz logo would pop up. And the movie studio shut that down. They prevented Starz from sub-licensing to Netflix. They're trying to drive Netflix out of business, and instead all they've done is drive Netflix into doing or redoing original programming.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to mention, because some of the original programming series are really good. House of Cards, right? Orange
House of Cards, Bloodline, with Kyle Chandler, very good.
Daredevil.
What, Daredevil was Netflix?
Yeah, Netflix original series.
I haven't caught that yet. I have been watching Arrow, though. I finally got caught up on Arrow.
The second season of Daredevil starts in just a couple of weeks. And the first season of Jessica Jones, which is in the same world as Daredevil and the rest of the Marvel Universe, Netflix original starts in like 5 days, I think.
Wow.
You know what? That reminds me, because I have been watching Arrow, I hit on a topic last week that, now, I'm probably going to mention some shows that you guys don't watch, but there's a character type that seems to be prevalent in a lot of shows now, and this is probably going to drive SJWs nuts, because I'm going to advocate the elimination of this female character that you find in every single freaking show.
Oh, yeah, you tweeted about this.
Yes. Have you watched Arrow, Daddy Warpig?
I saw the first 6 episodes.
Okay, so you're probably going to get what I'm talking about, and I bet the professor will too. In a lot of shows, there's this female character that they have that is hyper caring. She loves everybody so much, and she always hugs everyone, and whenever someone's in danger, she's extra stressed out. And she just sits around and doesn't want to talk about it. And then at some point in the series, she promotes herself as to like the moral compass of everyone in the group. It's Felicity in Arrow. It's Penelope in Criminal Minds. It's NCIS. It's Abby. There's always one, and it's so freaking annoying. I mean, that character just has to die. That character type just has to go. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Am I alone here?
I recognize the character, yeah.
You recognize the character?
I recognize the character.
But it doesn't drive you as nuts as I mean, it's just they're all the same character. They even sound alike. Felicity, Penelope, Abby. It's terrible.
So
I would have to think about that and get back to you on it.
All right, think about that and get back to me on it. I'm going to mention another pet peeve here because I saw it in a movie last night, and I'm the only one who ever notices this, and it drives me crazy. There's a scene in the movie last shift that I recommended, where this woman smoking a cigarette, right? She's talking, and the fucking thing keeps getting longer and then shorter and then longer and then shorter. So you know they did it in like 6 takes, but no one was paying attention to.
Continuity, yeah.
Yeah, it's whoever was supposed to be in charge of continuity just dropped the ball.
Oh, yeah. That does drive me crazy, too, if you find a continuity error. But yeah, I didn't catch that.
Drives me nuts.
Or so let's scene where they're putting on a tie, and then the tie is on, then it's off, then it's on, then it's off. Yeah.
Yes. Well, that's terrible. I mean, wow. Now, all right, I'm going to hit something real quick that Professor and I are going to agree on because I've been catching up on this show, and I am not ashamed to say I'm completely in love with Supernatural.
Oh, I love that show. That is a show for guys. That is like a manly show.
I used to love that show.
You used to love it too?
Yeah.
I don't understand it, Daddy Warpig. I drink beer and eat cheeseburgers like Dean, but I don't look anything like him. What's the secret of that Dean diet that I'm missing? I don't understand what happened.
He's a model. That's,
Right.
What are you going to do?
I'm telling you, it's a rare thing for a show. First of all, their soundtrack is fantastic. They always have great music, and I love the classic rock in there. But it's very rare for me that I watch a show and I think to myself, wow, whoever serves as a location scout on that show should get a special award. Every single episode has some kind of location that is just perfect for the tone and mood of whatever that episode is. They
Right.
have the most rundown, horrific-looking buildings. I mean, an amazing job to whoever that is.
And they've got to be doing a lot of hard work because it's shot entirely in Canada.
Yeah, what
And
isn't
so-
now? Everything is now.
They've got to be doing a lot of hard work to find sets, exteriors in Canada that look like look close enough to American towns to make you think, okay, that's all right.
Yeah, that's right. I
Yeah,
forgot
that's
it was in Canada.
Yeah, of course it is. That's a whole other show. But I've been reading a lot of articles lately about how California has taxed its way out of the movie business as far as Hollywood and the television shows. A lot of them are heading to Vancouver and up into Canada to start filming because they can't afford to do it here anymore.
Yeah. But I also hear that. So what it is that the different states like California, New York, New Mexico, where I'm in, they provide incentives to the film industry to film in their state. And the films, let's see, what do they get? They get something like 25% back of their expenses. It's some really high amount. But I think California and other states are figuring out that the costs and benefits aren't worth it. So they're cutting down on those film incentives, and they're going to Canada. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't know if it is a good idea to provide these incentives to the film industry. Do you know how it is in New York? Are there a lot of films being shot?
Not that I know of. There was one. One was shot about half an hour from me in Schenectady, the place beyond the Pines.
Oh, okay.
And that's really the only thing I can think of that's local. I mean, I'm sure in the city there's TV shows and stuff, but
Okay.
not as many as this started a long time ago. If Daddy Warpig probably remembers, but the original Highlander TV show was supposed to be a joint production between a French production house and an American one, and they were going to film part of the season in Paris and part of the season in the United States, and they wound up moving over and filming it in Vancouver. So they went from Vancouver to Paris. Every season, that show was split in half. Part of it was allegedly in the United States, and part of it was in Paris. But they couldn't actually afford to film here, so they filmed in Vancouver.
Yeah, I remember that series. I like that, the Highlander series. Yeah, they moved to Paris, right, or somewhere in France.
He had like
I
a
remember he
barge.
lived on a boat.
Yeah, he had a barge. You're quiet, Daddy Warpig. You not see that series?
I watched a couple of episodes of the Highlander series, but I was really a movie guy.
I
I
love
liked the first Highlander movie. I loved it, and then the other Highlander movies drove me nuts, and I didn't really get into the series.
I gotta say
Alex
too.
is watching us on the YouTube stream, and he wrote, "Even porn is thinking about leaving California."
That's probably true. Probably true.
Well, they
We're
passed
on
a
the supernatural topic here, Professor. I gotta say,
yeah.
I like the episodes where Bobby is in them. I miss him now in the later episodes.
Oh, I know. He was such a contrast to the boys. He was like the voice of wisdom that was always steering them in the right direction. Yeah,
Also,
I really miss Bobby.
I've been told that William Shatner is having some kind of bizarre Twitter feud with Misha Collins there, Castiel. I haven't seen it, but I don't know what started it, but I'd like to find out.
No, a real feud where they're mad at each other.
That's what I'm told. That's what someone has direct messaged me, but I don't know.
Man, what happened to Kirk? I feel like he's gone downhill after Star Trek: The Old Series.
He's 150 years old. What do you want from him?
Sorry,
Okay.
Kirk.
I don't want to miss this because we're down to about 20
Oh,
minutes. So let's
yeah.
go, and once you give me your grade and what you think about Until Dawn.
Oh, Until Dawn. Wait, did you gave that an A+, didn't you?
I'm going to start grading things on out of 10 bacon strips.
Okay. Until Dawn, I gave it a grade of C+.
Oh, come on.
And my comment was, I like this style of game. I liked it the first time when it was called Dragon's Lair in the 80s with the laser
Oh.
guns. No, it was okay.
What I thought was good is, especially if you like B horror movies, the story was just like a B horror movie. You had the group of kids going off into the woods. In this case, I can't spoil it, but you have a group of kids that went off in the woods, and some bad guy attacks them. So that's a typical B horror movie story. And yeah, I thought that was good. The graphics, I also thought they were good, not great. Was there any music? I don't remember. So that means it was probably good. But what I thought was bad, I thought the dialogue was too long in a lot of places. I found myself wishing I could, have you played Metal Gear Solid? When there's dialogue, you can skip it.
Yes.
I wish I could have done that, because at points it just got a little too long. So yeah, what's bad? I thought the dialogue was too long. The controls I thought were kind of confusing. So there were times when you're walking down the stairs and the camera is behind the player, and then it switches when you get to the bottom of the stairs, so the camera is in front. So instead of pushing to move the character forward, you're now pulling. So I thought the controls were, kind of confusing at times, but it was bearable. Let's see, what else? My biggest complaint is, I thought the pants on the female characters were a little too tight.
Oh, so you have an SJW style complaint.
That was my SJW style complaint.
I was really mad that the towel never fell off the Hayden Panettiere character.
I was thinking about that too, because there was all that running. So that wasn't realistic, and because of all of that, I'd have to give it a C+, Bacon Man. Sorry.
Yeah, okay, I'm a little astounded. I would say out of 10 bacon strips, I'd give it about an 8. I'd give it 8 bacon strips out of 10.
Really?
I did. I loved it. I felt like at times, first of all, it was a tongue-in-cheek sort of parody of classic B horror films, and if you were paying attention when you were in the film room of that game, there were some movie posters on the wall. One of the writers of Until Dawn and one of the voice actors in the game have connections to a movie called House of the Devil.
Oh, okay.
Which was a classic. It's a remake. It was supposed to be an '80s horror film. It's not a remake. It's not a remake. It's a throwback. It was about 3 years ago, I think, and it was a kind of a tongue-in-cheek '80s, take on an '80s horror movie. It was even set in the '80s, and it had some of the classics. Some of Dee Wallace, for example, was in the movie, so she's classic '80s actress. And
and these were all on the wall on posters.
Yeah, they were on the wall on posters. Yeah, and they had Stakeland, which was a sort of a B-rate kind of movie about 2 years ago about vampires. So right away, as soon as I saw those posters, I knew what it was going to be about. To me, the game felt like I was in the middle of a really fun Scooby-Doo episode that I could play through. That's the best way I could. It was nostalgic to me. I enjoyed even the little B-rate aspects to it. I thought that some of the atmospheres were great. There was a lot of great tension. I did have some camera problems like you had. I can't argue that. I love the butterfly effect system. The butterfly effect system, for those who haven't played the game, it's basically if you make a decision. First of all, there's a lot of autosaves in the game. So if you screw something up, you cannot go back and load a previous save and fix it. Some of your characters will die because of the decisions you make. Some will live. But if you kill someone you didn't want to kill, that's too bad. They're dead. There's no going back. Right?
Yeah.
So I thought that was
regretted
interesting.
what was her name? There was one. I think it was scene 8 or whatever they were numbered, where that one girl, she had a chance of going following the sound or following her friends, and I picked follow the sound.
I did the same thing. I did the same thing. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was tense.
She died. She went off by herself.
You never go off by yourself. I know, you never go. I did the same.
What was I thinking?
I went out of my way to kill that stupid Emily, though. She was bitchy, man.
Yeah. But for some reason, she lived. For me, she lived. I don't know how. I don't like her. Yeah. I don't know how.
I shot her. I did. When she was bitten in the thing, I shot her.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed it. Okay, so the butterfly effect system is
Oh, right.
it has maybe 10 or 15 butterfly symbols on the pause menu, and when you look at them, it'll tell you you chose to do this, so this happened, and then you flip through them like a book, each of them, so you can see clearly what the repercussions were of all your decisions as you played through the game, and if you
Oh,
played
wait,
through it,
Ben? I didn't know
yeah, you can.
that.
You go up to the top, you go over to butterfly effect. I think it's the R1 button. If you go
Oh.
over to butterfly effect, it will say you chose to do this, so this person then reacted this way, and because he did, this happened, and then
Oh, okay.
someone died or someone lived, or all kinds of weird things can happen.
I didn't know that.
For example, when I found the insane asylum, I chose not. Sometimes this is another thing. Daddy Warpig has no idea what we're talking about because he hasn't played it.
What's Daddy
Sometimes
Warpig doing?
I know he's playing
Fallout.
playing Fallout.
I am playing Fallout.
Sometimes in that game, there'll be an icon that'll come on the screen, and you'll have just seconds to decide what to do. And the interesting thing about the game is that, on occasion, just doing nothing at all is the best decision.
Oh, right, right. With the elves, for example.
With the wolves, I was going to say. When I went into the
Oh.
insane asylum, the wolves came up like they were going to attack me, but the icon came up where you could have punched or kicked the wolf. Instead, I did nothing, and then the wolf became my friend, and later on in the game, he took me around on a tour of the asylum. When I was stayed by my side and kind of protected me. So that was like, if you look up the butterfly effect system, it would say you chose not to punch the wolf, so the wolf became your friend, and then you flip over, and the wolf protected you from this attack, and so whatever his name was lived.
See, I didn't know you could look at the butterfly effects.
Does that change? Do you want to change your grade now?
Yeah, I should go back. I've been playing, trying to guess, replaying the different chapters, trying to figure out what to do to save people, and I could have just read the butterfly effect.
You could have just read the butterfly effect. Play it through. I understand there's 30 or 40 different ways that can end. I'm not sure. But I'm in the middle of a second playthrough. I'm still going to kill Emily a second time.
No, you can't do that. Don't you get the good ending if you save her? If you save all of them, that's what I'm trying to do now.
Oh shit! Is it possible to save all of them?
Yeah, I think so.
Huh. I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
She is the most annoying character, though.
I know you like her because she's Asian.
Yeah. See, that's your discrimination.
That's my discrimination thing.
That's why you hate her.
No, you know what? I did want to mention too, because I would like to have you guys back on. Like I said, I'm probably going to struggle to get guests for a while because Kate got all the guests. But I'm not sure that this is going to be.
On, though.
Oh, she'll be on. I'm not going to even bother to. If I go upstairs and approach the TV when she's playing Fallout, I'm going to take a controller to the face.
And she's not even watching us. That's what's bad. We only have one person.
We just lost a viewer.
Us.
We're down to one viewer.
Yeah, we only have Alex watching.
Yeah, it's me. It's just Alex, I guess. This is the most pointless stream in history. Now, Daddy Warpig will get on Geek Gab in a minute and have 50 or 70 or whatever he usually gets.
Man, we suck.
The DLC show had thousands of downloads.
Look, I dressed up and everything too for the show. And
I know you dressed up. I never do video. I just have two little pigs that say bacon bits. I'm not even sure this is going to be the regular time of the show. I'm probably thinking I'll wind up moving it to the weekday at like 8 o'clock, like at this a similar time slot to what the DLC show was, and eventually I'd like to turn it into a typical podcast where I can archive it on iTunes and people can download it the way the DLC show used to be. The problem is that those services like Blog Talk Radio and stuff, their free stuff is basically worthless because you can have it says you can have a total of 5 guests/listeners at one time. So in other words, I'd have 3. I guess right now I'd have a surplus of spots. I can only have 3 listeners, but I'd be fine right now. And you only get a half an hour, so I mean, unless you pay to upgrade it. So I mean, I'm happy to do the show. I'm not going to go into the red for it though.
Forget that. And can't you download the video from YouTube as some kind of MP4 and then upload it to iTunes?
I don't know, Daddy Warpig. Is that? Can you do that?
You can upload your audio. You can download it from YouTube, change it to audio only, strip out the video component, which you don't really need anyway, and upload it to SoundCloud, I believe, and that will enable you to set up a RSS feed that'll iTunes will pull it from SoundCloud, and also anybody on an Android device can take it from SoundCloud.
Huh, that sounds like a lot of work. I don't know if I'm going to do that.
Well, you have to download each episode and convert it and then re-upload it. So it is work. I mean, I'm not lying. It's not automatic.
Yeah, they're just going to have to be content with YouTube until maybe someday I'll get a Patreon and someone will pay my hosting fees on Blog Talk Radio.
Yeah, that's right.
One of my 2 viewers can, back up to 2 viewers. One of my 2 viewers can give me a Patreon. Why not? If Harper can get it for her cheeseburger runs or whatever she's spending her money on.
Yeah, I don't think
What is
we
it,
really
Ralph
have 2
calls her?
viewers. I think I'm the other viewer.
Oh, you're the other viewer. Ralph calls her Hamburger Harper, and every freaking time I laugh. Every time I laugh. If I'm reading the Ralph retort and he says Hamburger Harper, I just start laughing. I'm sorry, but it's funny. You know it's funny. I will say, I want to mention, too, I kept my promise, and I'd like to know how many of you did.
What's that?
How many of my listeners, 2 of them, back on the DLC show, I said when I got in the fight with the artists from DC for not protecting their own artwork, and then I went on that Bacon rant on the old Bacon Hour, I did not buy the last Batman game. I refused to play it. I held fast to my belief that if they're not going to protect their artwork, I want nothing to do with them. And I'm willing to bet most people just forgot about it and went out and bought the game.
No, I didn't buy it either. Are you talking about Arkham City or whatever it's called?
Yep.
Yeah, not going to buy it. Got to speak with your wallet, people.
All right, see the professor. I'm glad you stuck with it because we had a lot of comments on that show, and a lot of people were we're with you. Then I was watching the sales figures for the game rolling, and I'm thinking no one gives a crap. They just forget about it and they go right back to Gamergate has been horrifically bad at speaking with their wallets. We've talked about it, but they just won't do it. We say the free market always wins, but speaking of that. I'd be interested to get your take on this and Daddy Warpig's take on this. Speaking of SJWs forcing changes, Spotify recently removed a band from their service. The reason they removed it is because they were a sort of white supremacist band with like Nazi symbolism and just a lot of racist hateful songs. So Spotify just removed them, which to me I think is a dreadful decision for 2 reasons. One, I think if you're going to have free speech, you got to have free speech. You get the good with the bad with that. So, in my opinion, it's a little bit censory when you start going down that road. And I don't know where that ends. I know people say slippery slope a lot, and they don't always mean it, but I do mean it. If you're going to start censoring bands that people find offensive, right now it's an obvious one, okay? Obviously people are going to find that offensive, so you know that. But we all know, everyone in this chat knows how often people get offended. So if you're going to start removing bands because they offend people, you're going to be down to one direction pretty quick.
Right.
And the other reason I think it's a stupid decision is because if you just allow that band to fail on their own merits, just put them up there and they get 2 or 3 listeners, that to me makes as big a statement, or a bigger statement even, than removing the content. Just let them fail publicly.
Right. You're giving them free publicity. I'm with you. Obviously, they're a private company, so they can do whatever they want. That's their right as well. But I'm for letting the market decide these issues. If the market doesn't think that their music is good, it won't sell, and you'll see it. And like you said, Bacon Man, that it sends a stronger message when you let the market give these people those signals. Right,
and you know what? On that same topic, I've seen a lot of blowback from certain people in Gamergate recently have said started saying things like boycotts are bad and boycotts are not the way to go. I don't know why. I'm not sure why it is or what the genesis of that argument was. Maybe Daddy Warpig knows, but in my opinion, no. If you want to, I think boycotts are awesome. They're excellent. If you want to use your wallet to vote for something, like if you're mad about DC, if you think that DC refuses to defend their artwork and you want to do it and you just don't buy their games, that's fine. But there's 2.
That's your individual want. If you want to do that, that's your choice.
And it's a double-edged sword. Go ahead, Daddy.
There are 2 reasons why boycotting developers is a bad idea. One is, if you are a developer and you're involved in Gamergate, it is actually a violation of law for you to be involved in a boycott against people in your own industry. For Americans, it is actually illegal. So if you are a developer and you're involved in a boycott against a developer, you can get in trouble with, I believe it's an FTC violation.
Right, but we're talking mainly consumers, aren't we?
Yes, I'm talking mainly consumers.
Well, there are a lot of people who are prominent in Gamergate are also developers. Roguestar was, Pixel Metal is, Gwen Lily Knight is working on her own game. There are a lot of people who are involved in video game development, and they just, I mean, it's not even that they're saying, hey, you know, this is a bad idea, we don't want you to do it. It is, they just can't be involved in it, or it's a problem for them. It's a legal problem for them.
So they don't have to be involved in it. I was thinking more of the average consumer. I mean, I'm sure that developers could say I'm not involved in this and not be involved in it, and that would be fine. But the average, I've seen enough Gamergaters against boycotts, and I don't know why. Boycotts are stupid, you know. I mean, they weren't thoughtful tweets, but in 140 characters, I don't know what you can do. But I've seen a lot of it lately. I'm not really sure that I understand why they have this.
This was my argument back in December when this was first mentioned by a lot of people. We were, back in December, primarily about pushing reform in journalism. And developers, not publishers necessarily, but developers are not the primary problem with games journalism. The primary problem with games journalism was games journalists. And so it would be more effective for us to either have developers be neutral or have developers be quietly on our side. Now, obviously, I'd prefer them to be openly on our side, but that hasn't happened yet, and I'm very disappointed and really kind of upset when I think about it. But we definitely don't want developers thinking of Gamergate as being either a potential or a present problem. Something that they have to take care of either because they are being targeted or because there's a good chance they might be targeted if they do something that's wrong. That is my argument.
Okay, well, let me tell you why I like boycotts, and let's see what the professor thinks here.
Okay.
I think that boycotts have two purposes in a free market. One purpose is if the boycott is successful, then you've let a company know that they have done something or committed some deed that you don't agree with and that a large number of people don't agree with, to the extent that it hurts their bottom line so that they have to rethink their positions. For example, had DC suffered serious financial harm from changing their cover, maybe they would have rethought in the future defending their own artwork. It didn't happen, of course, but if it had, I mean, that would be a primary reason that boycotts work in the free market. The other reason that I like boycotts is because in the free market, when a boycott fails spectacularly, that also sends a message. Failed boycotts speak as loud as boycotts that are successful, in my opinion. For example, there's people calling for the boycott of Fallout 4 because they're forced into heterosexual relationships. Now, if that gained any traction, and if people were talking about boycott Fallout 4, but no one did, that would then tell Bethesda that this tiny, tiny, shrill minority of voices doesn't have to be listened to anymore. So failed boycotts send a great message. Successful boycotts send a great message, and I think the free market needs both of those messages.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, you know, we're not, my position is if you want to boycott, fine. If you don't want to boycott, that's fine as well. It's an individual choice issue. But if you look at the things we're boycotting things companies are doing that are harmful, I think, to our artistic freedom of expression, like
Right.
listening to these social justice warriors and changing the way the characters look just because it offends social justice warriors. So we're taking a stance, with this boycott, we're taking a stance against these people that you don't want the artists to have their artistic freedom. And so I think that's a good thing. We're not doing it. The boycotts I think we were doing in Gamergate were not for frivolous reasons. They were they primarily had free market reasons behind the boycotts.
Yes, that
So,
they
yeah.
were always about censorship of ideas. That's almost primarily what I was talking about anyway. And you know what, Daddy Warpig? Well, I got you on too. I also want to mention that this whole the only point of Gamergate is ethics and journalism to me is utter bullshit. It's absolute rubbish. That's not even remotely on the list of reasons I got involved in Gamergate. That is
I didn't know Daddy
probably.
Warpig was ethics only.
I don't think he is. I'm just curious about his opinion on it because honestly, in my list of concerns and the reasons that
Okay.
Gamergate attracted me in the first place, it's probably like 10th.
So here's what I told people when that push began. It's a stupid idea to push for that because a lot of people are involved for a lot of different reasons, and you just let them do what they're going to do, and don't try to tell them what they have to do in a hashtag. You can't police a hashtag anyway, and trying just is going to cause infighting, and everything that's happened since then has proven me correct. Trying to do that has just caused infighting that is going on to this day. Ethics only started out. So Sargon talked to me a couple of times in DMs and a couple of times in public, and I always told him that that was a bad idea because it was going to split Gamergate, and we should just let people do what they want to do to participate as and how and why they wish. That was so. Yeah, that was my opinion on it then. That's my opinion on it now.
Well, I agree with you for the most part. I would say that um, back a year ago when we were doing the DLC show, the hashtags that started to trend, like Save the Cover and things related to SJW censorship, had nothing to do with ethics. I mean, maybe there was a tertiary connection to ethics, and that was really like because the journalists were always sympathetic to the SJWs, which is really less about ethics and more about the fact that they're all politically driven publications. Which the drive to remove politics from Gamergate is an impossible one, in my opinion. And the belief that Gamergate is this huge hodgepodge of leftists and right wingers to me is a myth. I think honestly SJWs and the politically correct lobby that comes with them are primarily leftists. I don't know why people deny this. I don't think there's any way to deny it. It's that group. And you see it come from college. You know who they are. They're SJWs in training. They're all protesting now, the Million Student March. These leftists are the antis. That's who the SJWs are. So there is no removing politics from the Gamergate discussion. There is no removing censorship from that discussion, and there is no way it's ethics only. It's just an impossible. It's a dream. It can't be done.
Right. That's treating the symptom and not the root cause, is the way I try to succinctly put it.
Yeah, right. That's perfect. Okay. So I mean, I don't know anybody who's totally about the ethics. I could give a shit if someone's giving me bad reviews. I don't pick up Game Informer and buy games based on their reviews. I know better. You'd have to be out of your mind. I take word of mouth. I'll occasionally watch a Twitch stream to see if it's something that I want to drop $60 on. That's the reason I haven't bought Call of Duty, the new Call of Duty. I've seen it. I played the beta. My friend has it. I went over. I watched him play. I didn't, and to me it looks like a $60 map pack. It looks like, that just, to me it just isn't worth it. But I didn't pick up Game Informer and say, oh, it got a 9, I better go out and buy it. I mean, I haven't done that. Who does that? I don't know any consumers who do that.
What were the stats? Like only 3% you read game journals to determine whether or not they should buy a new title.
Right, because we know they're not trustworthy. That's right. The thing. But you know what? I'll give Nero credit. He did the one thing that a lot of people in Gamergate should have done a long time ago. And one of the things I tried to do with the DLC show is that he went out and launched his own and said, "Hey, here's a publication for Gamergate people who want to be free from the SJW crap. You come here, and you know what? Shame on us if we don't support it. I know I click the links whenever I can.
Yeah,
it's everyone's job to. So if you
I
want
think
to,
it's really important.
It is really important.
Effort.
It is really important.
Breitbart technology.
And sadly, I see a lot of Gamergaters retweeting Polygon articles.
I know. Come on, guys.
Yeah, I don't.
Off.
Stop clicking on that crap. Go read Breitbart Tech, and let Polygon sync the way it's supposed to. And I just don't understand the theory behind. Gamergate has been horrible about continually supporting people that they don't like and not supporting people that they do like. It just why I don't understand why that happened. Probably it's a big Gamergate mystery to me. Am I wrong? Does anyone think that's wrong?
No, I think you're right.
Listen to Daddy Warpig's in a firefight, I think, right now.
Yeah, I think he is.
He's fighting somebody. He's off on his own.
You know,
I-
we
I,
definitely need more alternatives to SJW media, and that includes Twitter as well. You saw what was happening today, where according to Grums, Twitter is filtering the top trends both globally and in the United States, so that Save Paris or Paris Attacks, I'm sorry, is no longer the top trending hashtag. It doesn't even show up. Instead, you have these social justice hashtags like Pray for Paris that are showing up as the top trending hashtags. And if you go to say Topsy and look at the analytics, you see that Paris Attacks has something like 2 million tweets, yet it's not showing up as trending on Twitter. So I guess my bigger point is we do need alternatives not only to games journalism, but a lot of these social media sites, because they have been so infested with SJWs.
And you know something? I'm going to break with Nero too on this. I think he's wrong about this. I think I can see the professor still trying to talk, but I can't hear him. Did your audio cut out again?
No, I'm just moving my lips.
Oh, oh, see now. Oh, all right. I'm not going to do it. You can't do that because you're open. You're just asking for the Asian jokes. When you're on the screen, just moving your lips and the words come out later, you're just asking for it.
That's discrimination.
It was discrimination, but you asked for it. All right, don't set yourself up for those.
Okay.
I was going to say I thought Nero was a little bit off when he started to. He said something about SJWs are over last week. And a couple of people retweeted it, and they gave the impression that they're on the run. But I think SJWs, to me they are a little bit like the Hydra organization from Shield. If one goes away, if one goes down or makes a fool of herself and is no longer heard from, there's 10 more that pop up. And if you look around the country at the Million Student March, at those delicate snowflakes in Missouri,
no comment.
Yeah, I know you can't comment. The universities in this country have made certain that they crank out endless supplies of SJWs, like an army, like any other army. They train them, they educate them that way. I mean, they are finally getting a little bit of what they deserve, a little bit of pushback from their own little snowflakes. But they're not over. They're in training. Even if Sarkeesian went away tomorrow and Man-Girl McIntosh went off and did whatever man-girls do, hung out with Will Wheaton, I guess, somewhere in some dark corner of a bar, then there would be 10 more graduating tomorrow that are going to take her place. It's not a fight with any end in sight. It's never going to be over.
Right.
There is no end for Gamergate, and SJWs are not over. And as soon as you think they are, they're going to bite you again. Right?
No, totally agree.
Don't just nod, okay? We all on video. Hey, you know what, Professor? Let's get your. I think we should do your list now.
The list, yes. That's right. What is the list? Oh, right. Ash Scow's big announcement. So,
what is Ash Scow's big announcement?
I don't know, but yesterday she tweeted about how she was going to have this big reveal starting, I guess, next Friday. She's been teasing this big announcement, this big reveal for the past month or so, although I've never seen any of her tweets teasing this big reveal. So, I thought hard, and I came up with a list of the top 5 things I think Ash Scow is going to reveal this Friday. And we're going to read that right now. Is that right, Bacon Man?
Yeah, let's do it.
Does Daddy have the list?
I saw it. I don't have it.
I'll do it. I'll go. Number 5, dropping the
Where
E
is it?
after Ash. You do a 4, Professor. Let's just alternate. I did 5. Go ahead.
Number 4 is announcing her new gig as campus reporter for Rolling Stone magazine.
Number three would be apologizing for her cultural appropriation of Asian last names.
Yeah, because what kind of name is Ash Chow? I think it's really Ash Chow, and I personally am kind of offended that she's culturally appropriating an Asian last name.
But not when I sent you a picture of the shitty wok guy.
Okay, number two, because if you know Ash, she has really great articles. One of in terms of campus reporting, I think she's one of the best reporters, and in terms of reporting feminist issues and the whole social media culture, I think she's one of the best. And but what she does is, if she has a new article out, she doesn't just send one link to it. She spams it 10 times throughout the day. So the number two theory is that instead of spamming her article 10 times a day, she'll only spam it 9 times a day.
And the number one theory is she will reveal why she is holding a decapitated horse head in her Ask FM profile picture. I don't know that I want the answer to that, Professor. I don't think I want to know.
You should tweet that picture.
I hope she should have tuned in for this. She's going to miss it.
Yeah, I think she's not one of our 2 viewers. So
she's not one of our... No, I think we got a third, but I think that might be me. All right, Alex wants me to pay attention to the chat. It's just tough, Alex, because we got a chat going on YouTube, and then we got a side chat with me and the Professor and Daddy Warpig, and then I've got some direct messages coming in from Twitter, so I try to pay attention to the chats. I had the same problem during the DLC show. I mean my attention's just everywhere. Someone wants to know why the DLC show ended. Well, to be honest with you, I don't know. I have no answer for that. All I can tell you is that the guy at 405 Media was all about the show. He was really into it. The show was doing well. We had a lot of downloads. We had a lot of listeners. He was taking in ad revenue actually, and doing pretty well with it. We hadn't gotten to the point where we saw any of it. So, but he said he was doing well. And then one day he sent an email and said that he had a personal conflict and could no longer do live shows. He canceled all his live shows. Our lead-in was Polita Bunny. She went off the air, and Hutch went off the air. He just stopped doing live shows. I have no idea why. That's the last time we heard of him. I sent him an email and thanked him for the opportunity, which he went unanswered. So I have no idea what happened or why 405 dropped live shows. Unfortunately, I mean, he was a nice guy, and it was John Grant. I hope he's okay. I don't know what the conflict was or why he had to stop, but so the long answer is I have no idea. I have no idea why the show went away, but all I can tell you is that listen to Bacon Bits if you miss it, and if you're nostalgic for the DLC show, I'm going to try and do this once a week. I'm going to try and do it during the weeknights, I think 8 or 9 o'clock like the DLC show was. I don't know how many guests I can line up. I do want to have the Professor back as much as I can. I know he's got conflicts because of he's on 100 other shows. He's going to go on Ralph. He's going to go on the Ralph show. I'll have Warpig on as much as I can. So that's
frost people who hate Ralph.
It is going to frost people who hate Ralph. I know. I don't. I love Ralph. I said I was going to mention that too. I love Ralph. I like his take no prisoners attitude. Warpig or Professor, I don't know if you muted yourself or you seem muted. I see a mute symbol on your picture. I don't know why.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I was making some noise searching for pictures.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if I muted you.
But yeah, no, I like Ralph. That's funny because I was talking while you were talking. And,
oh, you were?
Yeah, it's that Asian thing, where my lips are moving.
I'll dub some audio in later where it's badly lip synced. I love Ralph. I have no problem with him. I think he's I like his tell it like it is attitude. He has his opinions and he stands by his opinions. He doesn't back down. Rarely apologizes. Occasionally gets drunk and tweets. Who hasn't done that?
Right. What? So I don't keep up with the fighting. In fact, I try to stay away from a lot of it. I kind of look at all my GamerGate followers as kind of like my students, where you have students with different opinions and they fight amongst themselves, and it's like, okay, that's fine. You guys can fight amongst yourselves. I still like all of you, but yeah, I don't understand why people don't like Ralph. because yeah, like you said, it seems like
I
like
don't
a
either.
good guy. He just
Hey,
speaks his mind.
you know what,
And
Professor? When you're on his show, try to ask him if you know privately or publicly, I don't care. See if he'll come on here with you. Maybe the three of us could do something just for half an hour.
oh, okay, sure.
I'd love to talk to Ralph. I've talked to him on Twitter, but I've never actually talked to him.
Right. Doesn't he have two sock puppets on his show? Mataconda and Nora.
I've heard I've heard the Vatican on there, right? Isn't he on there?
Yeah.
He's not a sock
No,
puppet.
they're not sock puppets. I was just kidding. Don't get mad.
No, yeah, everyone's gonna get mad now. So, all right, I'm gonna try and wrap this up because we've been about 15 minutes over, and I know
Oh.
Daddy Warpig wants to get back to Fallout, but
I can't believe
the bottom line is that Bacon Bits is gonna. I'm hoping it's gonna be a weekly thing. It may morph into a podcast at some point if we get more than 2 viewers. But it's probably going to move to Wednesday or Thursday around 8 o'clock, and we're going to try to get the professor on. That's usually a good time for you anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a good time. I'll make some time.
You'll make some time, and I'll get Daddy Warpig on as much as I can, and Pie in the Sky someday. Maybe I'll get Ralph to make an appearance. That'd be great.
Yeah.
I have no future guests lined up, so it's either going to be me ranting for an hour. Nothing really got me that mad today, which surprises me because I was pretty worked up. But it's been a while. I have to, I'm rusty, so I'll get worked up.
I could be on next week if you want again. I don't mind.
All right, that's good. I'll schedule a live event. And hey, Daddy Warpig, what is your schedule usually like?
It varies depending on what's going on. That's why Geek Gab doesn't have a regular schedule anymore.
How come I'm never on Geek Gab?
I don't really go out looking for guests for Geek Gab. Usually it's people who come to me and say, hey, do you want to come on Geek Gab? I'm like, sure.
I enjoyed Geek Gab. I had a good time with that.
It's basically Geek Gab is me and one of my friends who's in me and two friends who just get on and talk. We don't really have any, big heavy agendas, so it's just we try to make it interesting, but basically it's whatever we find interesting. That's what we'll end up talking about. So
that sounds good.
I'll reach out to the Hat too. I enjoyed it. He was on the All Bacon Hour. I unfortunately talked over him most of the time when I got angry, so that turned into that was the Bacon rant. Poor Ralph. And eventually maybe we'll get Alex back on here. There's people I'll reach out to, but for now, in summary, let's just say this: it's going to be a weekly show. I'm going to have the professor back. I'm thinking Wednesday nights, 8 o'clock, is going to be with our regular schedule for Bacon Bits. Professor's wrong about Until Dawn. It's 8 bacon strips out of 10.
No,
Excellent graphics.
plus.
Well worth playing.
Plus.
Supernatural was great until season 6.
Supernatural. Agree to disagree. I still think Supernatural is worth watching. Let Us Pray was, I would say, 7 bacon strips out of 10. 6.5 bacon strips out of 10, so that's worth watching. Professor, once again, wrong about that. I recommend watching The Last Shift on Netflix. Daddy Warpig recommends Supernatural seasons 1 through 6, and that's it.
1 through 5.
1 through 5. 1 through 5. And other than that, we will see you all next week at. I will see you Wednesday, Professor. I'm going to do Wednesday at 8 o'clock.
Okay, I can
So it's
do
going to be a
Wednesday.
quick turnaround on this show, but then after that, it's going to be weekly. So from now on, Wednesdays at 8 o'clock for Bacon Bits.
Okay, I'll be there.
All right. Thank you guys for listening, both of you.
Thank you for listening.
Have a good night, guys.
Good